When you are in divine alignment, you are not just moving, you are moving with the wind of God behind you. It's the difference between struggling to push your way forward and feeling yourself being carried by a current that is stronger than you. Alignment with God is not about perfection, it's about positioning. You can be talented, gifted, and anointed, but if you are out of position, your progress will be slow, your strength will be drained, and your results will be frustrating. But when you get into divine alignment, acceleration comes not because you are faster, but because God removes the resistance that was slowing you down. It's like the difference between rowing against the tide and sailing with it. One leaves you exhausted and barely moving. The other moves you further in minutes than you could in hours on your own. We live in a culture that celebrates hustle, that tells you to grind harder, wake up earlier, work longer, but there is something greater than hustle. It's the hand of God pushing you forward. The reason some people seem to leap into opportunities while others crawl is not because they are more qualified, but because they are aligned with the season and the strategy of heaven. Alignment causes doors to open before you knock, relationships to form without manipulation, resources to appear without begging. It's not magic. It's the natural result of being in the right place at the right time with the right heart. Some of you have been wondering why it feels like you've been on the same level for so long. You've been faithful, you've been praying, you've been trying, but it feels like you're walking in circles. That's what happens when you're not yet aligned. See, you can be moving and not making progress. You can be active but not advancing. You can be busy but not building. The enemy loves to keep you in motion without momentum, because motion without momentum keeps you tired but stuck. But when God aligns you, he synchronizes your steps with his timing, and timing is everything. You can plant the right seed in the wrong season and still miss the harvest. Releases in your life. It's not luck, it's not coincidence, it's divine momentum, and it's proof. When you are aligned with heaven, acceleration will always follow. Alignment is not always comfortable because it often requires realignment. God will shift your relationships, change your priorities, and even remove you from environments you've grown attached to so that your position matches his plan. Sometimes acceleration doesn't come because you're still holding on to weights you were never meant to carry into your next season. It's hard to run at full speed when you're dragging old pain, old habits, and old mindsets. When God wants to align you, he will confront the things in your life that have been keeping you off course. He will whisper in your spirit to let go of that offense, to stop clinging to that person who's pulling you away from your assignment, to stop trying to fix what he's already finished. Divine alignment also means agreement between your will and God's will. You can't pray for his plan while secretly hoping he changes it to fit your preference. True alignment is when you stop resisting and start agreeing. It's when you can say, Lord, not my will, but yours be done and actually mean it. That's when your spirit, your mind, and your actions begin to move as one with his direction. When that happens, speed comes. Suddenly, the things that used to take years start happening in months. The opportunities that felt out of reach are suddenly within grasp. You start catching up on lost time because God's a way of redeeming the years that the enemy stole.
Because alignment is God's way of saying, now you're ready, now you're in position, now I can trust you with the pace I've prepared for you. And when he says go, no devil in hell, no delay, no obstacle can stop the forward motion he releases in your life. It's not luck, it's not coincidence, it's divine momentum, and it's proof that when you are aligned with heaven, acceleration will always follow. When you understand that your steps are ordered, you stop living like life is random. You stop thinking that what happens to you is just a coincidence or bad luck. You realize that even when the wind is howling and the waves are crashing, you are not lost, you are being led. The storm may be raging around you, but the God who wrote your story is not caught off guard by the chapter you're in right now. If he ordered your steps, then he also knew about the storm before you ever stepped into it. The same God who called you out is the same God who is guiding you through. The problem for most of us is that we love the idea of ordered steps when the path is smooth. But when the road gets rough, we start questioning if God is still in control. We start wondering if we missed a turn, if we misheard his voice, if somehow we wandered off course. But the truth is, the storm is not a sign that you're off track. Sometimes the storm is proof that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Because storms are often the transportation system God uses to move you from one season to another, the wind that feels like it's pushing against you is actually carrying you toward your next assignment. When your steps are ordered, the ground beneath you may shake, but you will not sink. You may be tossed, but you will not be lost. That's because ordered steps don't depend on calm, whether they depend on a faithful God. He doesn't need perfect conditions to bring you into your purpose. He doesn't wait for the storm to pass before he moves you forward. Sometimes he does his best work right in the middle of the chaos. That's where your faith is tested, your character is refined, and your dependence on him becomes unshakable. Ordered steps mean that every detour, every delay, every disappointment is part of the route. Even when you can't see the destination, he sees it clearly. And because he's ordering your steps, he knows when to speed you up and when to slow you down. He knows when to let you rest and when to push you forward. He knows when to take you through the valley and when to lead you up the mountain. If you could see the map of your life from his perspective, you'd stop fighting the path and start trusting the process. The storm doesn't mean God left you, it means he's training you. You don't learn how to trust him in sunshine. You don't learn how to stand firm when everything is easy. You learn it when the wind is against you, when the rain is blinding you, when the thunder drowns out every other sound. That's when you learn to recognize his voice, even when everything else is screaming. That's when you realize that his hand is steady, even when your feet are trembling. Sometimes the storm comes to strip away the things that were never meant to go with you into your next season. You thought you needed certain people, certain positions, certain possessions to make it, but in the storm you find out what really matters. You find out that as long as you have God's presence, you have enough. This storm makes you lighter, leaner, and more focused so that you can keep moving without being weighed down. And don't think for a moment that God wastes a single step. He will take the very storm that was meant to destroy you and use it to develop you. He will use the wind to push you into places you would have never gone on your own. He will use the rain to water seeds in you that would have stayed dormant in comfort. He will use the lightning to illuminate truths you couldn't see in the daylight. When you look back, you'll realize that even the steps you thought were missteps were actually divine choreography, moving you toward your purpose. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. That means He's not just watching your journey, He's directing it. You may feel like you're wandering in circles, but from heaven's view, you're walking a path that has been carefully planned. The twists and turns, the sudden stops, the unexpected detours, all of it is part of the design. And if God is ordering your steps, then He's also ordering your stops. There are moments when He will hold you in place, not because you're stuck, but because He's setting the stage for the next move. Sometimes the greatest faith you can have is to keep stepping when you don't understand the route. It's easy to walk when the path is clear, but when the fog rolls in, when the storm clouds gather, when every step forward feels like a risk, that's when faith becomes real. Faith says, I don't have to see where I'm going as long as I know who I'm following. Faith says, the storm may be in front of me, but God is with me, so I will keep moving. Faith says, my steps are ordered, and the one who ordered them is faithful to complete what He started. When your steps are ordered, even your enemies can't stop you. They might try to block the path, but God will either move them out of the way or turn them into stepping stones. They might try to throw you off balance, but your footing is secure because it's anchored in His plan. Even when the storm gets worse, even when the waves rise higher, you can stand firm knowing that the one who spoke to the wind and the sea is the same one who is guiding your steps. The reality is, storms will come. You can't pray them all away. You can't avoid them all. But you can go through them with the confidence that they don't control your destiny. The storm is temporary, but the order of your steps is eternal. The rain will stop, the wind will fade, the clouds will break, but you will still be standing because you were never walking alone. Every step, even in the storm, is moving you closer to the place God prepared for you before you were even born. And if He brought you to it, He already has a way to bring you through it. There are some doors in life that no amount of hustle, networking, or striving can open. You can knock on them until your knuckles are raw. You can push until your back aches. You can plan and strategize and dream, but they will not budge, not because you're not capable, but because they are not designed to open by effort. They are designed to open by obedience. There is a level of favor that only flows to those who are willing to hear God's instruction and act on it, even when it doesn't make sense. Obedience is the master key that unlocks opportunities effort could never reach. We live in a culture that celebrates hard work, and yes, diligence has its place, but obedience will take you places hard work alone never could. Obedience will position you in front of people you never thought you'd meet. Obedience will lead you into rooms where your name was already on the agenda before you even knew the meeting existed. Effort can get you noticed by men, but obedience will get you recognized by heaven. And when heaven puts its seal on you, no man, no system, no opposition can deny you. The challenge is that obedience often requires you to move before you have all the details. God will give you a command without giving you the full explanation. He'll tell you to go without telling you exactly where you'll end up. He'll tell you to give without showing you how He's going to replace it. He'll tell you to speak when it feels safer to stay silent. Obedience is rarely convenient, but it is always strategic. Every act of obedience plants a seed that grows into a door you couldn't open on your own. Some of you have been stuck in front of the same closed door for years because you've been trying to pick the lock with effort instead of using the key of obedience. You've been asking God to bless your plan instead of following His plan. And here's the truth: God doesn't bless disobedience, even if it's packaged in good intentions. He blesses alignment with His Word, His will, and His timing. You can be talented, you can be anointed, but if you refuse to follow His instructions, you will keep walking past doors that were meant for you, but will not open until you obey. Obedience is not just about action, it's about trust. When you obey God, you are saying, I trust you enough to follow your voice over my own reasoning. You are declaring that His wisdom is greater than your logic, that His perspective is higher than your sight. Sometimes God will tell you to take a step that feels like it's leading you away from the very thing you've been praying for. But in reality, He's taking you around the obstacles you can't see yet. Your obedience is protecting you as much as it is positioning you. There are moments when obedience will feel small, almost insignificant, like it couldn't possibly be the thing that unlocks the next level. God might tell you to make a phone call, sow a seed, change your schedule, forgive someone, or let go of a habit. And you'll be tempted to dismiss it because it doesn't seem connected to the breakthrough you need. But it's often the small acts of obedience that trigger the biggest releases of favor. The walls of Jericho didn't fall because the people pushed harder, they fell because the people followed God's strange, specific instructions to march and shout at the appointed time. Obedience is also costly. It will cost you your pride, your comfort, and sometimes your plans. It will separate you from people who are unwilling to go where God is leading you. It will stretch your faith to the point where you have to decide whether you want control or you want destiny. You can't have both. When God gives you an instruction, He's not asking for your opinion, He's inviting you into a miracle. But the miracle is on the other side of the instruction, not before it. The door opens after you turn the key, not while you're still holding it. When you walk in obedience, you begin to see doors open that you didn't even know existed. Opportunities come looking for you. Resources start finding you. Relationships form in ways you couldn't have orchestrated. Things that used to be a struggle start to flow. And the beauty of it is that you can't take credit for it. All you can do is point to God and say, He did it because I followed what He said. That's why obedience is so powerful. It shifts the glory from you to Him, and when God gets the glory, He's not afraid to release even more favor into your life. The enemy knows this, which is why he will do everything he can to delay or disrupt your obedience. He'll fill your mind with doubt, make you overthink, surround you with voices that talk you out of it. He knows that if he can get you to hesitate long enough, you might miss the moment. Some doors are time sensitive, they're not going to stay open forever. That's why immediate obedience is critical. Delayed obedience is often disguised disobedience. The longer you wait, the more you risk losing the opportunity attached to that instruction. There are testimonies in your future that will only be birthed through your willingness to say yes. When God speaks, not when it's convenient, not when it makes sense, not when you've figured it all out, but when He speaks, that yes will break cycles. That yes will open generational blessings. That yes will shift the trajectory of your life. Every person God used in Scripture, from Abraham to Moses to Esther to Peter, saw supernatural doors open because they obeyed a word that didn't always make sense in the moment. Obedience is not a one-time act, it's a lifestyle. It's choosing every day to follow God's lead, to keep your ear tuned to His voice, to be willing to adjust your plans when He interrupts them. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes to recognize His direction. You stop resisting and start responding. You stop arguing and start aligning. And before you know it, your life becomes a series of open doors you never had to force, simply because you walked through the ones He told you to. The truth is, you could spend your whole life trying to force your way into places that God could open for you in an instant if you would just obey. You could waste years exhausting yourself in the name of effort when one act of obedience could accomplish what all your striving never could. God's not asking you to figure it all out. He's asking you to trust Him enough to follow the step He's showing you right now. Because on the other side of that step is the key that will unlock the door you've been standing in front of for far too long. And when that door swings open, it won't be because of your strength, your skill, or your strategy. It will be because obedience did what effort never could.